Hi, second graders. Welcome to our last experiment for forces and motion. Today we're going to be talking about something that's called work. Now, you hear this term all the time, like, I've got to go to work, or that took a lot of work. Well, in science, work means something a little different. So today we're going to talk about what it means for science. So work is the amount of force needed or used to cause an object to move. So it takes work to ride a bike. Your legs have to use force to move the pedals. It takes work to eat breakfast. You have to use force to move the spoon from your cereal bowl up to your mouth. That actually is considered work because you're using force to move something. It even takes work just to stand up. Your muscles use force to hold your body up and resist it just falling down because of gravity pulling you down towards the ground. So work is any time that we have to use force to make something happen. So today's experiment is going to be a little bit of a workout. Ha ha ha. Why do you think it's called a workout, right? You're going to need a heavy book. I'm using my trusty cookbook again. A light book. I have a nice light snowflake book here. You're going to need a timer and some kind of a sports ball, like a basketball, this kind of a ball, a soccer ball, any type of ball that can bounce will do. Okay, so let's go to the sheet that you're going to be using. You need to print this out because there's a lot of things on it. And as we go along, we'll complete the sheet. So for experiment number 1, we're going to look at how it takes a different amount of work to accomplish a task. The task is going to be to lift a book from the floor to your chest while you're standing up as many times as you can in 1 minute. So what you would do is start with the light book and take your timer. I'm going to set my timer for 1 minute. So I set it for 1 minute and I start the timer. And then what I'm going to do is take the book and go from the floor to my chest, from the floor to my chest. And every single time it needs to touch the floor and my chest. I'm going to count as I go. So I'm going to go like 1, 2, 3, 4. And when my time runs out after a minute, however many times I was able to lift it up to my chest, I'm going to record it right here. How many times did you lift the light object in 1 minute? Then I'm going to set the timer for a minute again, but this time I'm going to lift the heavy object the exact same way. So I start the timer, 1, 2, 3, and after 1 minute has gone by, I stop and I record how many times I was able to lift the heavy object in 1 minute. Which object do you think you'll be able to lift more of in 1 minute? The light object or the heavy object? Well, we will find out. For the second experiment, you are going to need the sports ball. And what we're going to do is I'm going to ask you to do certain movements with the sports ball. And I want you to think about where is the work happening during this movement. So you're going to take your ball, and the first one is going to be to bounce. So when I bounce the ball, I push the ball towards the ground, and then I catch it. So can I do this with a sports ball? Bounce? Yes. Then I think about, could I do that same exact thing with a raw egg? If I could do it with a raw egg, I would circle raw egg. If I couldn't do it with a raw egg, I would cross it out. If I could do it with a bowling ball, I want you to think about a bowling ball. So now I'm imagining bouncing a bowling ball. Do you think I could bounce a bowling ball? If I could do it with a bowling ball, I would circle it. If I can't do it with the bowling ball, if that's not going to work, I would cross it out. And then the last one is helium balloon. So imagine this is a helium balloon, and I wanted to bounce it at the ground. If I could bounce it, I would circle helium balloon. But if I couldn't bounce it, I would cross it out. So after you're done with the sports ball, you should either have circled or crossed out every single thing in this row. Then we move on to the next one, which is push. So on push, you're going to get down on the ground and just push the ball across the ground. And then I want you to imagine, could you do it with a raw egg? Could you do it with a bowling ball? Could you do it with a helium balloon? The next one is to drop it. So I would hold it out and just drop the sports ball, which is different than bounce, because when I bounced, I pushed. So could you drop the sports ball? Could you drop the raw egg? Could you drop a bowling ball? And could you drop a helium balloon? Then I want you to think about doing swing. Swing looks like this, swing. Okay? So I want you to think, could you do that with a sports ball? Could you do it with an egg? Could you do it with a bowling ball? Could you do it with a helium balloon? Then I want you to do spin. The way that you do spin is you put it on the ground and you spin it. Try to do it in the air. Whew. Okay? So could you spin a sports ball? Could you spin a raw egg? Could you spin a bowling ball? And could you spin a helium balloon? Then I want you to do pull. Pull is where you're going to put it on the ground and pull it towards you. Could you do it with a sports ball? Could you do it with an egg, bowling ball, or a helium balloon? And the last one is lift. So put it on the ground and you would actually lift it up. Okay? Could you do that with a sports ball? Could you do it with an egg? Could you do it with a bowling ball? And could you do it with a helium balloon? Once you've completed this chart, what I want you to do, would you do all the movements with all of the items, yes or no? And then I want you to name some movements you couldn't do with some of the items. Like, I couldn't pull with the bowling ball, for instance. Now, that's not necessarily true, but I want you to look at things like I couldn't do this movement with this item. See if you can find 3 things that you were not able to do. Okay, I hope you guys have fun and get a little bit of a workout. Next week, we're going to take our knowledge of work and apply it to our next unit. So I'm really excited to start that. And I hope you guys have a fantastic week and a good time doing these experiments. If you can't post your picture on Nearpod with your sheet that's completed, just go ahead and take a picture and email it to me. Either way is fine. Okay, see you guys next week.